Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you with the SmackDown TLC preview. This is the end of the year pay-per-view for WWE's SmackDown with Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan leading the brigade. I honestly think that this is going to be a pretty good show. It's got 4 headlining championship matches. I have a little bit more appeal in this show that I have in past shows. I think that honestly, Survivor Series was a really good pay-per-view, and it really got me into the thick of watching wrestling again. I will tell you that honestly, I think that only really one match on this show really matters in the grand scheme of WWE. I don't want to go into a long rant of basically talking about the brand split. Not really helping WWE more than it is just sort of making it sort of plain Jane bland. I really haven't seen WWE make any more stars. You would think that, half the stars go to Raw, half the stars go to SmackDown, that people would be elevating their way up to the top. The first show of the post-brand split era was, SummerSlam. Here we are at TLC. It seems like still the same guys are in the same position. AJ Styles, was in a main event program, not for the championship, but against John Cena. Dean Ambrose was the WWE champion at the time. Now he's fighting for the WWE championship. Maybe Randy Orton has fallen down the card a little bit, going into a tag team match with Bray Wyatt, going for the tag titles. That is a program that they are running that maybe is running into, the Wyatts facing The Undertaker and Kane, and maybe Randy Orton facing Bray Wyatt. Something's going to come out of that. Dolph Ziggler has elevated his game as people still knowing he is a really good guy that's going to have a great match no matter where he is positioned on the card, whether if it's the opening match or a match in the middle of the show. He has a match against The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship. Still doesn't make a lot of sense that on the 900th episode of SmackDown, they took that championship off of him, but Miz and Ziggler are going to have a great match at TLC. No word if this is going to be the end of their feud, but they're going to go at it and they're going to do it one more time. We're going to go over all of the matches. I don't have time to do a full show preview like we did before. That was the plan, but I didn't feel all that great this week. So we'll just run through the matches, honestly, really, really fast. SmackDown Tag Team Championship, you get Heath Slater and Rhino going up against Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton. I still don't understand why these titles aren't on American Alpha. They lost a match to Orton and to Bray Wyatt. Honestly, when word came out around Survivor Series that Randy Orton was going to be taking time off due to having another baby with his new wife, I thought that this program was really stupid, that they were just going to leave us hanging. Orton seemed like he really didn't miss any television time. Maybe he missed a house show here or there, but it seemed like he popped right up on SmackDown right after Survivor Series. Maybe went home, saw his new kid, kissed his wife, and got on that first plane, went to SmackDown, and then went home and spent baby time, not missing any television. But you got to give it up to him. Honestly, if I was Randy Orton, I'd be sitting at home, and I wouldn't want to be leaving the house for anything. I'm praying that they take the titles off of Heath Slater and Rhino. They had a really big sort of angle, building them up and letting you know who they were. I haven't really seen anything from Heath Slater and Rhino since then. I guess they just fall to the back of the pack and maybe get forgotten against after losing the championship. Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton opens the door. Some people say they're fighting The Undertaker, maybe fighting themselves. We'll have to see where they're going with this storyline. But if I had money on this match, I'd be taking Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton for the win. We have a chairs match between Kalisto and Baron Corbin. I don't think there's any way in the world that Baron Corbin is not walking out of this match with a win. I feel bad for Kalisto. This guy's going to get beaten. This guy's going to get bruised. Every once in a while, if you go back in time, you think about the TLC match last year. He had that, what's the name of that match? Sarita del Sol off the top of the ladder. When it was him and Sin Cara going up against the Usos. This guy's going to surprise us, and he's going to have a big move here or there along the way. But him not being a part of the cruiserweights on 205 Live and the guys over on Monday Night Raw, that's kind of a surprise. This guy's been United States champion. He's had feuds against guys like Alberto Del Rio, but he's never really proven himself to be a big name. So, you got people saying that Rey Mysterio needs to re-sign with WWE to bring life to that cruiserweight division. And that you've had for years people saying that Kalisto needs to be the next, Rey Mysterio. Put the guy in an element where he's going to be able to show off how good he is. Emphasize on his strengths, and sort of hide his weaknesses. The guy's not a big dude. Neville, if he ever gets back on television, he's probably going to have to be the same thing as well. If you've got this thing, why not make him the Hulk Hogan of his own division and just let him run ruckshot over these guys and have a proven star that's been built by the WWE machine, instead of just a guy that's going to go out there and lose matches when he fights a guy like Baron Corbin, because everybody knows the story of David and Goliath. But, how many times is the little guy going to be able to take down the giant? It's not going to be able to happen every time, but once it does, that's one hell of a story. But at least you have a story of the guy getting wins along the way, instead of just having a guy looking like Barry Horowitz going out there and beating somebody and then trying to make a big deal out of it, knowing this guy got one win, but he's probably going to lose his next 100 matches coming out of this. IC match, The Miz versus Dolph Ziggler in the ladder match. I got my money on Dolph Ziggler. I know that it's a fast title change going back and forth. I still believe that the SmackDown title change where Miz beats Ziggler, especially right before the match that was already put together against Sami Zayn at Survivor Series, I think that honestly was sort of just a last-minute change, in my opinion. I never heard that on any of the radio shows or saw it on any of the news stories around the world, but it didn't make a lot of sense to me. I remember at the time I was wondering if Ziggler was going to get suspended or something like that, but I think the story has to be the Ziggler having the championship. It doesn't make sense for him to have that career versus career match at No Mercy here in Sacramento and then just lose the match on SmackDown and just go back to being Dolph Ziggler. That was the cons that I had going into that career match, that Dolph Ziggler was just always going to be Dolph Ziggler. And no matter how many times they try to pump up the volume on the guy and make him a main eventer, I didn't believe that it was going to happen. From here we go to Nikki Bella versus Carmella. Very funny thing about this match, that honestly this is a no DQ match between the two. And more than likely they'll probably just start in the ring and brawl up the ramp. Fight backstage, maybe get into a fight in the Divas locker room, or maybe around the if they go into catering, they can smack each other with pies and stuff like that. With no SmackDown on Thursday this year, we didn't get a Thanksgiving food fight. At least I didn't get to see one. Maybe they can go in there, but maybe they can go to the makeup room and hit each other with powder and stuff like that. But honestly, it's kind of funny to me that this is a non-championship match. And then in the next match, which is the tables match for the Women's Championship between Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss, all four of these girls want to kill their counterpart, but it seems like Nikki and Carmella, their feud is stronger than the Becky Lynch versus Alexa Bliss match. Carmella, to me, seems that she's jealous of Nikki Bella because of John Cena. It's probably Nikki Bella going to Carmella backstage, sort of being that backstage leader because she's been in the locker room longer, trying to help her out, saying this is how you get heat. Don't be afraid to hit me with cheap shots. Like talking about the only reason why I'm here is because of John Cena, and she's probably getting told to say these things because I'm sure John probably, it's not that it's not making him happy. But I'm sure that John's not happy that his name's getting thrown around like this in Nikki Bella promos, because we see them on Total Bellas, we see them on Total Divas, but when it comes down to it, Nikki Bella and John Cena, for the most part, in the WWE universe, with Raw, SmackDown, and pay-per-view, they're not really linked together. They're supposed to be kept apart, seeing how one's the biggest babyface and one's the biggest heel of the women's locker room. They've always kept them apart. But these girls want to kill each other. And this is a match that, honestly, I probably want to see more than the other one. So I'm going to pick Carmella to come out victorious on this one. I don't really have a reason why, but I just think that she has more to gain by winning this match, and then she'd be able to sort of move up into the championship picture. Nikki probably has more to give to all of these girls by losing a match here and there. She's already made. She had that championship for so long. I don't think they're dying to put that title back onto her. But then again, she did come back, so it shows that she does want to be there. From there, we go to SmackDown's Women's Championship, which is going to be Becky Lynch against Alexa Bliss in a tables match. I think it's kind of funny that both of these girls are really strong. Alexa Bliss, it's funny because you go back to the Sasha Banks versus the Charlotte Hell in the Cell match, where it got screwed up with the tables finish at the end, where Sasha Banks bounced off of the table, and then everybody looked around like, oh, what the fuck, are we supposed to pick her up and throw it through again? The girls were lost. Everybody thought that Sasha was going to go through, and instead she just sort of bounced off because of her size. Is Alexa Bliss big enough to go through a table, or is there going to be some sort of help? I think that Becky's going to get the win here. But I think this could be a very fun match, but also at the same time, I think it has the possibility of somehow getting fucked up in the process. From here we go to the tables, ladders, and chairs, AJ Styles versus Dean Ambrose match. When I was listening to Cheap Heat, they made a good point about this match, that this was going to be a TLC with the ladder thing worked into it, where you climb up the ladder and grab the championship, or if that gimmick is only going to be used during the Miz versus Dolph Ziggler, and there's just going to be ladders used as weapons in this match, which to me honestly doesn't really make sense. Ladders really aren't the gimmick of AJ Styles or Dean Ambrose. It just happens to be the name of the pay-per-view. So why you would have ladders hanging out around the ring to hit with each other. I think that this is going to be a match that ends via pinfall or submission. In my mind, you have more to gain with AJ Styles winning the championship than Dean Ambrose does. To me, honestly, Dean Ambrose has all the tools to be that main guy, but then once he became the main guy, he didn't really pick up the ball and run with it. And to be the champion leading into the Royal Rumble, of course, you could have a championship change at the Royal Rumble. But to me, honestly, the Royal Rumble is the kickoff to WrestleMania season, and I want to have the title on AJ Styles because I want to have it on the main guy on that brand to sort of lead to the biggest match possible. Honestly, if either of these guys lose this match and they don't get a rematch at the Royal Rumble, they would be guys that I would sort of pick as to maybe be competitors to win the Royal Rumble, because this year, of course, Brock and Goldberg are going to be in the Rumble, but I don't think anybody has them winning because they think that they're going to face each other. But you could think of, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, AJ Styles, Dean Ambrose, John Cena, The Undertaker. There are many names that could win the Royal Rumble, and because of the brand split and because of the fact that there are two champions, in my mind, even though I'm so negative about the brand split, this is one thing about the brand split that does open opportunities at the Royal Rumble to make it a very more fun match, because there's so many possible winners. You've gone into the Royal Rumble the last few years. There was Brock Lesnar, Triple H, and Roman Reigns. Those are the three guys everyone knew was going to win the Rumble. You go to the year before, some people thought that Ziggler was going to win it. I think that was the year that he had been suspended, and then he just came back because Sting came back and they were able to get their jobs back. So some people thought that Ziggler would win because of that. But I think everybody in the world knew that Roman was going to win that going to WrestleMania. And I can't really think of anybody else. Maybe Daniel Bryan was somebody that people were picking because of the comeback story leading to WrestleMania 31. But, there hasn't been many people that you think have a shot. The year before that, I think it was the Batista one because he had just returned. What else was he going to do? So I'm really looking forward to it. So we'll go from here, and I'll see you guys down the road.